Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome back. Today, I don't have much of a plan. So, thank you for tuning in. Today, we're just going to sit here and draw for a little while. This is my new sketchbook page for February 2023. Um, and right now, I've been studying the spine. Um, so that's what I'm doing today is a few little overdrawings of models to really capture the motion and structure of the spine. And after I do that, I am going to try tackling some spine studies without doing an overdrawing. So I've already done a few with um, I've already done a few of these with the skeleton. So I've got a 3D model skeleton in Raz Studio, and I just posed it in different ways and did some studies of that, which you can see at the end of my video sketchbook from January. Yeah. All right. So let me make sure all of
Handle.
my connections are good to go. My mouse has disappeared, so I can't see what I'm doing. Oh, that's weird. Alright. What is going on? Alright. Alright, I can see my mouse now. I can see my mouse again. That's good. Alright. Got that fixed. Alright. All of my streams are active. That's good. That's good. Perfect. All right, so in a different window, I've got my poses folder open. Now, my poses folder is full of both clothed and unclothed figures, so I am trying to find some that are at least presentable enough for Facebook and YouTube, because that's where this is streaming. So here is one model coming up next. Let's see. Um, what I've been doing is blowing these up a little bit and then dropping the opacity somewhere in the 33-ish% range usually. So yeah, that's fine. And then making a new layer to study the spine. So to study the spine, we have to study all of the things that are connected to the spine. So you can see on these models up here, that means the skull, the rib cage, and the pelvis and hips. So I am going to be doing a Loomis head for the model. So a Loomis head is pretty simple. It's a sphere with the jawline attached. And I tend to draw very much like Steve Houston for the head. I just love the structure that he uses. But that is the basic shape of the skull. From here, what I really want to do is focus on the spine. So the spine is a three-part, well, it's actually four parts, but for the purposes of drawing, we can only see three parts of the spine. So we have the cervical spine, which is 7 vertebrae. The top two are sort of fused together, and the top two are where you get your forward, backward tilt, as well as rotation. Now, the second vertebrae, sorry, that's the top two vertebrae. The rest give you side to side tilt. All right, moving on. Now, this model has the back pushed very strongly forward, so the thoracic spine is where the rib cage is connected. The thoracic spine, I believe, has 12 vertebrae. I might be wrong on the number here. But the thoracic spine basically stays in the same shape at all times, though it can rotate. Then finally, we have the lumbar. So the lumbar is the thickest section of spine and usually curves like so. It is responsible for forward and backward tilt and side to side tilt. But it does not twist that much. So most of your twisting actually comes from your thoracic spine. Most of your tilting happens in your lumbar. So it can move forward, fold onto itself pretty well, and also side to side. Attached to the lumbar is the pelvis and hips, which there's one more section of spine. It's your coccyx and your oh no oh I'm forgetting well your tailbone is actually two bones. There's a little bone at the tip, and then oh no, I'm forgetting my anatomy. But it is nestled inside of the hips and pelvis. You do not see it. So this was a pretty simple profile view. There's another profile view up here and sort of a front 3/4 view. I want to go ahead and explore a couple more photos and see what I can find. Merge this layer down with that photo. I'll go ahead and merge all of these. We'll just call this page 1. Ooh, here's a back view with a twist. That is great. All right, give me just a second here. Yeah, I have 16,000 poses on my computer. So sorting through them is a whole lot of fun. Where? Okay. So anytime I see the head from the back, I like to mark the top of the skull. And the ear, which means this is about the bottom of the skull. But the spine, the cervical spine is twisting, so it curves up like that. And I'm looking basically for a line of action. We still get a little bit of the side to side tilt, I believe. That seems to be about what this spine would be doing. So now we attach the other parts. From the back, the rib cage, how it attaches to the spine is very much just like an egg. It does have a little bit of a arch to it in this section, like where it actually connects to the spine, but the rest of the ribs are much lower in the back than they are in the front. So in the front, the rib cage has a nice big opening where your abdominal muscles connect. In the back, not so much. You've got two very thick ropes of muscle that go right next to the spine. but the ribs themselves do sort of like this action. And the way I typically think of the pelvis is very much a boxy shape that narrows. Actually, I think that would be more twisted. So I'm gonna, this is a tricky pose. Step back on this and really try to find that twist. So the the, not lumbar, sorry, the thoracic spine is really twisting this way, whereas the pelvis is really doing something more like that. So I am going to increase the tilt. Other leg joint would attach. Yeah, all right. The other femur would be right in there. So a little bit steeper of a tilt. That's a bit better. Okay. Right, so now I'm gonna go back to the poses folder and see if I can find a front pose of some sort. Check in on my chats over here. Nothing yet. So I'm just gonna hide those. And we'll start a new page because that one's getting a little crowded. Actually, this is going to be really interesting. So, this is a very muscular man, but the bone structure is nowhere near the size of his musculature. So let me. I've done 2 female models on this live stream so far, so let's switch to a male model so that we can talk about some of the anatomical differences. So this isn't too dynamic of a pose. He's sort of situated a little bit contrapposto, so his head is pointed this way while his chest is pointed this way. Let's get the Loomis head. Now, thinking of the spine, it attaches basically at the ear level and the back of the head. So the cervical spine is probably moving about like so. The thoracic spine is going to be opposite this curve, because you have to think of the whole rib cage as being very rounded. So the back of the rib cage, if it's at a 3/4 view, actually let's just go ahead and draw through. So let's say the back of the rib cage connects right about there. Front of the rib cage comes down like so. The back of the rib cage, you can see now, would be doing something more like that. The front of the rib cage would spread like so. You can see where the abdominal muscles would connect. And then let's talk thoracic spine. So thoracic spine would start right in here and connect into the pelvis. But you can see the hip, like you can see where the hips are on a really muscular model. You can also see the hips are basically the same width as the rib cage on a male model. On a female model, the rib cage is a little more narrow and the hips are a little bit wider, which creates a really narrow waistline for women. But the shoulders are usually sitting at the same width as the hips. On the other hand, the shoulders on a man, we've got a lifted arm here. The shoulders on a man, especially a muscular one, sit wider than the hips. Yeah, all right. That's just a little tidbit of other anatomy. Let's see here. Push down. This will be page 2. And I'll find another pose. We'll do one more, and then I'm going to switch to studying poses without doing an overdrawing. A reclined pose, that's something different. Eh. Now here we go, front and twisting. So a lot of these poses are from Graphic Studio on ArtStation. Highly recommend you check them out. Or him or her. I'm not sure who the photographer is exactly, but Graphic Studio, Grafit, I think, yeah. Loads and loads and loads of reference image packs that are very well done. So here we can see the waistline being narrow, with the hips being wider than the rib cage. I am going to go ahead and go through the same process I have been though, so let's start with the head. The cervical spine into the thoracic spine. The opening of the rib cage usually meets right around where the collarbones do. So I did the front of the rib cage a little too low on this model over here. Front of the rib cage. Thinking about the thoracic spine. Doing a bit of a twist into the lumbar section. Front of the hips, back of the hips, direction of the hips. About like that. And a very narrow rib cage. So thinking of the rib cage as it twists is a little bit tricky sometimes because this opening has a curve to it. from the front, it looks almost straight, depending on the model. Um, as it twists, you have to think of sort of like an egg. So imagine you took an egg and cut straight across. Now, as you twisted that egg, you'd see the roundness of that egg shape, especially on the side facing away. As you twisted more, it would turn into a roundness alongside another rounded edge. You then see inside of that egg, like so. So that's what's happening with the rib cage. It's very interesting to visualize that as it twists. And knowing that, you know, you've got your sternum here, which looks like a necktie. And then a bunch of cartilage, depending on the model, or depending on the person in general, you can get a lot of cartilage through here, or very, very little. It really depends entirely on the model. But this is not supposed to be about the rib cage. This is a spine study. So I'm really just trying to get these cylinders sitting correctly in space. And you know, I don't have X-ray vision, so this is anyone's best guess. All right, so now I am going to just do the next images that pop up on my gesture drawing software. So essentially, it's really interesting to point out. There's if you go to cubebrush.com, there is a piece of software just called gesture drawing with an exclamation point at the end, and it's all one word. So it's gesture drawing exclamation point. And it lets you set up custom classes. So you could set it up just like a live model class. So like a crocus, I don't even know. It's a French word. So just a model drawing class where you can have it do a slideshow on a very specific set of interval timers. And that's how I usually warm up, is an hour-long gesture drawing class with, I would say, 10 30-second poses, 10 1-minute poses, 5 3-minute poses, 3 5-minute poses, and then a 10-minute pose. Um, there are breaks interspersed through there, so I could actually share that file for it. Yeah, I might do that. We'll see. All right, so back to what I was actually trying to do, though. Carving out this Luma's head. Come on. There's got a whole lot of twist here. So the front of this rib cage. So this is one of those situations where I'm actually trying to figure out the rib cage before I have drawn in the spine, so that there's a lot of twisting happening. Like, this is the front, this is the center line, this is the back in the back, but it's wrapping around. So this is a good example of how the cartilage here, along with a lot of the connective tissue of the spine into the ribs, it allows for a whole lot of rotation in the thoracic spine, which you wouldn't normally think of. Someone just messaged me, and that was loud. Sorry, checking in on that. Where was I? Gesture. So we've got front twisting, and then down here, the hips are now pointed away. Like so. Imagining that femur doing that. Active in there. Yeah, that one's a tricky pose. Super tricky. That's a very flat front pose. Ooh. So this is I like this model. This model has some really challenging poses. So first, I want to try to find this. All right, so here I'm just really trying to get the gesture of the spine right before I try to break it into pieces. So let's say that's pretty close. That looks to be about the divisions. So the divisions, if you were to split this into 4 units, just for easy measurement, the top unit of cervical spine would be about 3/4 of a unit. The bottom section of the lumbar would be 1 1/4 of a unit, and then everything in between would be thoracic spine. So that's sort of the divisions, and it gets wider as it goes down, because as it goes down, it's supporting more and more and more weight. So this is only supporting the head. This is supporting the head, the neck, and the ribs. This is supporting the head, the neck, the ribs, all of the spine on top, and the organs. So it has to progressively be more and more stable as it goes down. That is that is the beauty of the evolution of the spine, the human spine. Welcome, viewer, whoever you may be. Drop a comment if you're listening. All right, so tricky pose here, tricky. So this is from behind. The model is twisting and looking up and away. Thoracic spine. This is really tricky. And then the lumbar. So the lumbar is attached to the pelvis. We've got a big pinch here. We can see this section. About like so. That looks right. Yep. Tricky pose. There's some really goofy poses in this folder that, like, I just download packs and drop them into the folder, so I never know what I'm gonna get. All right, so that's 2 pages in the sketchbook for today. And if you would like to see my video sketchbook, I will be uploading that to Facebook later today, more than likely. If you want to keep track of everything that I'm doing, make sure you visit joshj.blog/links. That is joshj.blog/links. You can schedule consults for illustrations or tattoos. You can buy me a coffee. If you really like me, you can sign up for my email newsletter so that you can get an email that goes out most Fridays. Sometimes it's Saturday. Just with everything that's going on the professional front for me. Yeah. Or just random news that's really exciting. Yeah, I like to share that sometimes too. But yeah, that's it for today, everyone. I am going to hop off here and get something to drink and work on as many tattoo designs today as I possibly can. So thank you for joining in. I will see you next Tuesday, more than likely. And yeah, keep drawing. I'll catch you next time.